In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the next secret lair that was announced, and I have to say this one threw me for a loop, because Chucky is coming to Magic the Gathering, and that's not a sentence I ever thought I'd say. Let's get into it. Alright, thank you so much everybody for being here. I do appreciate each and every one of you guys taking the time to watch these videos. Be sure to hit the like button if you do enjoy and click subscribe, and then click that bell icon if you want to be notified when new videos are posted. But you did hear me right in the intro. We do officially have a Chucky secret lair coming out as part of the upcoming secret lair drop. If you guys haven't seen my videos already talking about some of the previously announced secret lairs, including the Ghostbusters ones as well as the Hatsune Miku ones, they should be in the same playlist as this video for all the secret lair reviews, so just kind of check them out if you're interested in seeing what's going on. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Chucky for whatever reason, it is a vastly popular horror franchise, of course based around the titular character Chucky, who is responsible for many of the nightmares that I had as a child. Nowadays, I will say, watching the movie as an adult, I found it to be more boring than scary, but I remember being terrified as a kid. I like a lot of horror movies. I've just never been a huge fan of this franchise, although people have said that the TV show on USA was actually really good, so maybe I'll have to check that out at some point. And obviously with some fun tie-ins with Halloween season starting, we might do a few, you know, branching out videos a little bit and talk about some other things. So it's some food for thought to keep an eye on if you're interested in that and just having a little bit of fun. But don't worry, obviously the coverage isn't going anywhere because that is first and foremost what we're doing here. So let's take a look at the cards inside the secret lair. So we're starting off with Chucky, of course, Carder Doomscourge, which is actually from Call Time. I'll pop the actual OG one here for a minute. You guys can see that. A pretty decent card overall, but not exactly a lot of value. And I'll talk about why that may not matter for this secret lair in a little bit here. But the Chucky variant of it is quite cool. I like the aesthetic of the card itself, the restricted, sort of looking like a movie poster. But it does also have a backside where you've got the good guys box, and it obviously reminds what the name is and everything there. So it's just kind of a cool little, you know, double-sided card. I like these double face cards. I don't think it's too confusing or anything, and obviously it has the mana cost on here. I think you're going to get people that either love or hate these double face cards. I really like them with the serial cards. I think they look good here. But some people may just, you know, not be a fan, and that's okay. But this is obviously going to be a very popular card. Not only is Chucky, obviously, like I said, a very popular franchise, but the artwork on here, they nailed it. This is going to be a very high demand card, I think. Whether or not the secret lair itself actually ends up selling out, we will get to in a bit here. We've got Phyrexian Reclamation, and it's called Sorry Jack, Chucky's Back. A pretty cool card overall, about $5 for the cheapest in non-foil. And the last time it got a reprint was Jumpstart 2022. It's actually a pretty good card too, just in general. So not a bad reprint. I mean, whenever you get a practical card like that, it's always nice. And I don't have too much to complain about it. The artwork here doesn't do a ton for me, but I understand it, and it's well drawn. It's just I'm not looking at it like, oh, this is a must grab. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. So that's sort of where I stand on this one. We've got Varragoth Bloodsky Sire. I despise this artwork. I will say Tiffany has a really cool design, generally speaking, and is just a little bit confusing how they ended up with this particular artwork. I don't mean any disrespect to the artist. It's just not for me. It does not, to me, it just looks kind of bad. But again, that's just my opinion. That doesn't mean that it is bad. It's just how I feel about it. The card, of course, is Varragoth Bloodsky Sire, which does have a very few number of printings. In fact, it was only in Call Time, so either the promo packs or Call Time itself was where you could get it. About $4 at the cheapest, we'll call it. A very, very solid card. So decent reprint. I don't know that people were clamoring for a reprint on this, but again, for me, it's either the card's value or the art, and this doesn't really hit either one for me personally. And you know, 3 cards in, we're at about $9 in value, so in terms of reprint value. So just kind of interesting note on the choices here. Now we got Friends to the End, which is Twin Flame, another really good card. It's seen a lot more popularity lately due to some more application and things. Pretty solid, about $4 or $5. It had a Double Masters 22 print and then just this OG. Not bad. The artwork here is really cool as well. Overall, just a pretty good inclusion choice. I think I would like to see them put a couple of like $10 cards, even $15 cards in these secret lairs more frequently. I know I sound like a broken record saying that, but it just, you would think that they would do that, but I guess they don't really have to, because this is going to sell because of the property that it is. So it's like, oh, well, we're making one that's going to be really popular. Let's fill it with crap cards and save the reprint equity for later. You know, maybe that makes me sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I think that's what they do. If they know what something is going to sell, they'll often avoid putting big cards in it. And then we've got Playpal's Factory, or Genesis Chamber. Another card, really, really inexpensive, like $2. It's pretty good. Definitely a card with the Mir, whatever you want to call it, commander that came out. Why am I blanking on his name? Urtet, I think it was, from a couple sets ago. He was really good with this card, obviously. But again, in terms of value, there's not a ton to work with there. But the artwork is pretty cool, and I do like the way it all ties in. So if we add up everything we're looking at here on these cards, even being super generous with the numbers, we're looking at around, I don't know, $15 give or take in value for the foil variants of for the non-foil variants of all this stuff. I know that for some of the foil variants there are definitely you know, jumps in price, if you will. I think Urza's Legacy is definitely going to be one of those, where you have that, you know, Phyrexian Reclamation. Of course, uBlock decides it wants to block my page live in the video. Anyway, sorry about that. Urza's Legacy, yeah. So let's see, does it even have a foil? It does. All right, so the foil variant of this card is around 50 plus near mint. So I suppose getting a foil variant of Phyrexian Reclamation, which doesn't otherwise have one, is not terrible. So if you're looking at it on the foil side, it is a little bit better. But it's one card, and like that really depends on whether or not you want to have it in foil. Obviously, the OG version is just not going to be very easily accessible for anyone. So I guess that gives it a little bit of a bump just in terms of the reprint value on the foil variant. So you're spending 40, you're getting about maybe 50-ish in value, which is, you know, if you like this stuff, it's not bad. But overall, from a value perspective, it's not great. So it's going to be one where, again, I recommend that you grab because of the art if you like it and are a fan of the series. Now, for comparison, we did have the Secret Lair Evil Dead that came out. I don't remember, what was this, last October, I think? And this has aged extremely well. Another very popular horror franchise. It was pre-selling at around 111 when it came out, and it's up to about 179 now at the cheapest, with multiple sold listings. Now, in fairness, this card did have some, Secret Lair rather, did have some really good reprints. This cards like, you know, Vanquish the Horde, pretty solid, $11 card, you know, for this version. But what carries this, of course, is Cabin of the Dead. This is an extremely expensive card, $70 for the non-foil, and I think the foil, when I had it set before doing research for this video, yeah, it's around like 90. So a lot of the weight behind this Secret Lair comes from a combination of Evil Dead being a huge franchise and Field of the Dead being a ridiculously good card that is just always going to have some value because it's scarce. There just aren't too many printings of it. But that is to say that all of these cards have done relatively well. Even Ash, you know, as Pure Steel Paladin, which you know has a lot of different, you know, he's got some ebbs and flows, but we're talking less than 2% on the drops. The values have held pretty well. I like to think Chucky will be in that similar boat. I don't think at the time Ash and this Evil Dead Secret Lair had come out, we had that print, the FOMO limited time printing thing, but this has still aged really well, even though there was a very open window for people to get it. So, you know, what does that say about the Chucky one? Is there a better chance that this goes, you know, this does okay? I said it in the Hatsune Miku one, I said, look at the trends, see where they go, because those all seem to dip after the fact, right? I am obviously not a market expert by any stretch of the imagination. However, what I will tell you is looking at the other horror property that is, you know, probably a good comparable here, there's a chance this does really, really well. And I'm going to check the Evil Dead Secret Lair non-foil edition. So this one, even non-foil, is about 170. Both of them have aged really, really well, and they weren't limited print at that point, right? It was print to demand, open for a month or whatever. I don't plan on buying this one because I'm not a fan of Chucky, but if you are, this might be one to try to get on there and grab before so that you don't end up having to pay marked up prices. And there's no guarantee that it will trend the same, but it has very much happened with the Evil Dead one, and that is, like I said, the closest comparable that we have. Obviously, the Evil Dead one does not have, the Chucky one does not have a card playable on the level of Field of the Dead in terms of demand and value, but we don't know what the bonus card will be. There's always the possibility that there could be something interesting. I would say I give this a recommendation of buy it at retail price, $30 or $40, if you are invested in the art and you like it, or if you want the cards, obviously, but I think the demand in this is certainly going to be the collectible aspect of it from an art perspective. I hope it doesn't get scalped and people get a chance to get it that want it, but obviously I don't think that's going to be very likely. The only thing that could work in some people's favor is if people are trying to grab a bunch of other secret lairs, and this one happens to, there's only so many things they can get to and get in their card at once. But I would say keep an eye on this one. It's definitely worth the buy if you're a fan of the series, and history suggests it will do well. But again, that is just a sort of speculation based on some informed data with the market. Ultimately it comes down to you guys doing your research, making sure you're looking into it and it's something that you want. You're not just buying it because you're worried it's gonna go up later. Always make smart choices and do research when it comes to these types of purchases. I can't stress that enough, especially with secret lairs. But if you like it, you got a pretty solid, product here, just from an art perspective, and I really like the appeal of, I like what Secret Lair does with these cards, and I know a lot of people are like, well, it's not Magic, but that's fine, that's okay, this is a separate thing, it's a separate product, and I think it's really cool to have stuff like this, and like I said, you'll always have people that don't like it, but I think a lot of people will like it if you're a fan of the franchise. So that's where I stand. It's not exactly the best product in terms of card selection, but the artwork on most of them are fantastic, and it's a great choice for a property, especially with Halloween right around the corner. So there's my 2 cents. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.